Thank you. I want to thank everyone for this opportunity. I'm Sunday Zorvah. I'm the program coordinator of IFES, African Indigenous Foundation for Energy and Sustainable Development. We are based in Port Harcourt, Nigeria, even though we most times do our work in the communities because we have some thematic areas we work on, but we specialize on the issues of indigenous people's rights. And then we also work on women's rights and then environment, peace and conflict resolution, and then energy justice, climate change, and biodiversity. These are areas that we work on. But we've been so particular on the indigenous rights, looking at the people we are. In the early 90s, when we formed the movement for the survival of the Ogoni people, Mossop, one key thing that we focused on, which was part of the Bill of Rights, Ogoni Bill of Rights, was the issue of development of our language and culture. In fact, it was a very critical area in the Ogoni Bill of Rights. We made that very prominent in our agitation as a people, because the problem we faced was that you cannot speak Ogoni language anywhere, even in our land. The moment you speak Ogoni language, they see you to be someone that is timid, someone that does not know left and right. And so it was a very serious issue that we had. And so we joined most of them. Some of us were program officers working with Mossop. And we did that. Now, what we did as an organization, IFES, we looked at what Mossop has done and step it a bit further, since for now we have issues in that movement. And so what we did, looking at the problems that people face, even when you are in Ogoni, you want to speak to the people, you see people not speaking the language. They speak English. And the local people do not understand. And the politicians and the leaders use that to even take what belongs to the people, not carrying the people along. So we felt bad about that. And so what we did as an organization, we had to meet with the leaders, the elites, particularly traditional rulers in the area, and told them, look, it's high time we looked at this issue of language. Of course, pained by what they have suffered, they experienced over the years, they cooperated with us and said we should go ahead with whatever we can do to bring this language to limelight. How we can develop this language, how we can make it such that even our own people will be proud of it. Not that someone comes there and you see even those that have gone to school find it difficult to even speak the language. This language was supposed to be taught in primary, at least in the primary schools, but you don't have things like that. So the traditional rulers, the elites, the major stakeholders, community leaders said we should go ahead whatever way we can use to develop this language, to make it known and acceptable. And so that motivated us more. So the first thing we did was to, in consultation with them, put together some language translators in the area. Of course, in Ogoni, we have 4 local governments. These are administrative areas in the states. So, but Ogoni occupies 4 local governments, of course, about 1 million people. But even at that, we still have ourselves as minority in the area because of this issue of language and culture that was not recognized and developed. So we put some of these 4 local, translators, language translators together, one from each local government, one from Gokana, Kana, Eleme, and Tai. These are the 4 local governments that the Ogoni people occupy. And of course, you see, one big challenge that we also had was that even though we are a set of people, we are one people, but what you find there is that we had different dialects. Gokana people speak different things, Kana people speak different things, Eleme people speak different things, and all of that. So that was another challenge that we had. And we said, well, how can we now have something that everybody will understand, even though we have these different dialects over the place? So it was an issue that we also had to confront. And so these 4 language translators came together. We met with them, and they agreed. They said they can do with the support, encouragement of the traditional rulers. Of course, it was a meeting. In fact, we always meet in the communities, from one community to the other. And so over time, we met with them, and then we were able to engage them, formally engage them, and they put together this language. Particularly, in fact, we said, let's start with numbers, so that we can start that with the primary school, with the children in the primary school. Let them be able to count these numbers from, in the schools. So we look at it, and we're able to write from 1 to 1 million in our language. So as it is now, we now have a document where you now have Ogoni language written a number from 1 to 1 million that we have now. In fact, we are ready to even present it to the school administrators so that it will be read taught in the primary schools. So that's one thing that we've been able to do over time. And again, on that, we had another challenge. The challenge was that the counting system was in base 20, but with what we have done, we've been able to put it in base 10, so that it makes it easy for whoever is reading or counting it to count it fast and easy, and then it's better. You can understand it better than when it was in base 20. That's what we've been able to do. All of these have been put together. And in fact, what we are planning to do is to see how we can launch it, make public presentation, so that it will be something that will further distribute it to the primary schools and then to the Ministry of Education, and then encourage, make them put it as part of the curriculum of the school, so that it's not just producing the document, but making sure that it's taught in school, so that the primary school, younger people, small children, those in primary school will be able to learn and be able to count these numbers. We've gone a bit further than that by not only leaving it in Ogoni language. We've been able to also translate it into French, into Spanish, and then all of that. So that is what we have. And so what we are doing at this moment is that we put all of that in a CD that we want to share as we make a public presentation. The date that we'll look at, a confident date that we'll do that. These are the things that we have done over time. Now, you also see we also have a problem of trying to fix the poor educational facilities in our place, because you can have this document in place, but who will teach? Or okay, with what aid? Because you go to Ogoni, you see that the government has abandoned that area. No better school facilities in the area. Even the teachers, you get to communities where in a whole community you have 1 teacher. In the whole community you have 2 teachers. And most of these children are learning outside, not even in the house. So, under the roof. So if you have now come with this document, how do you think that these children will have comfort in learning it? And so that was another thing that is of concern to us. How to get these children have somewhere that they can comfortably learn this language, so that we don't say, oh, we have less teachers. At least let there be some recruitment, some teachers, even if they are from the communities, they will be able to teach these children these countings, numbers and all of that language. So these are some of the things that we have done concerning language. We've gone further than that, going into language, traditional knowledge. We've also had a documentary of our traditional mode of worship, because we find out that most of the things that our forefathers were doing, most of the things, the way they worship, the way they eat, what they cook, and the way they were even treating themselves, those things are going into, extinction. Our people no longer know about it. And so the leaves are there, the herbs are there. How do we use it? So we look at it and we say, is it possible we put all of this in a documentary, so that we also have a day that will make presentation, call the people together and say, this is how it is. Our fathers used to do this. Our ancestors, our forefathers used to do this. That we've also been able to do. We've been able to also to present, to have a documentary of a traditional healing process, bone healing. We also have a documentary on preparation of local delicacies. We also have a documentary of even our farming system and fishing system. Most of the ways our fathers used to go fishing and cultivating are gone. The land is there. How can we use it the way that will be more fruitful and beneficial to our people? We also have a documentary of even the midwifery. This is what we call midwifery, the traditional birth attendant. We also have a way, the documentary on that. A whole lot that we have documented, because we found out that all of these things are missing, are no longer there. And the people, most times, even something that someone is supposed to pluck one kind of leaf and treat, because they don't know. You see, people dying. And it's a community where oil extraction is happening. There are a lot of pollution in the place. Some of these things, there are leaves, there are herbs that can be taken or used to treat these people. So these are the things that, with the help of this project, we've been able to draw attention to. And in the coming days, by the time we make this public presentation, I think the people will be better informed and will revive this culture and language. Thank you very much.
Wow. Sandy, you guys have done some amazing and awe-inspiring work. I think a lot of the people in our audience, I'm already seeing comments in the chat about, the issue of stigmatization of, indigenous languages. And I think you've laid out, I like the way you've laid out the path that you took. So perhaps for me, it's just two quick questions to ask. How did you get started? How did you get started on the Ogoni Bill of Rights? And is now the language included as part of the Bill of Rights among the Ogoni people? And then how is it being received? It seems like you've made so much traction with the local government, with the communities. How is it being received in the public domain? Because you've said that, you've been able to make it prominent in the public. And I know you wanted to target all the Ogoni people who are living around, I guess, Nigeria and even abroad. So if you could speak a little into that, so that our audience can also, those who are also having challenges with, stigmatization of their languages, perhaps this could give them some ideas about, how to get started with addressing some of those issues.
Yes, thank you very much. Like I said, we did not just come to say we are going to, revive this language, or putting it in a document. Like I said, we already had a movement, an organization that started. In fact, if you get to Ogoni and you mention Ogoni Bill of Rights, it's a document that almost everybody knows. Ogoni Bill of Rights is like a Bible. You want to know what the Ogoni people want, just ask of the Ogoni Bill of Rights. You will see almost 90%, or even not more than that, the demands of the Ogoni people, which was used, produced by Mosso. And one key item that is there is the issue of development of Ogoni language and culture. I say Ogoni culture. It is clearly that it is the third item there. And so all Ogoni people know that our language was not respected. In fact, you speak Ogoni language, nobody laugh at you. So it's an issue that is in the Ogoni Bill of Rights. So we key into that. We use that document. In fact, as we were going to from community to community, we were even having this Ogoni Bill of Rights in our hands. So look at, we're not just saying this. This is what even our fathers, those who formed Mosso, those who initiated this thing, even talked about. So it was not, much problem convincing, talking to the people about it. But already, it has started from somewhere. So that's what we use. And with that, when we go to the traditional rulers, they know that, even though we are going to work on this, some others had already worked, even though they didn't finish. So it was a very good, they gave us strength. And not only that, what we are doing, most of our people are also abroad. They are all over, the place. They traveled, they left Nigeria because of the repression when we were going on this agitation. And so they are living abroad. Most of them cannot speak. Their children cannot speak. So we intend to mass produce this, even put it online. We have created some online platforms in Ogoni, where this thing will be distributed. We want to mass produce it on CD and even put it on many ways of sharing it. In fact, as I mentioned, the public presentation. At that point, we are going to share these CDs out to people. We are going to put it online on different platforms, different fora. We have those that are in diaspora in US and all over the place. They are even asking, because they are aware of the process, how we are going on it. They are even asking for it, but we've not sent it to them because we have not formally released it. But all of these are there. So we do not have much problem for the people accepting already. Today, I'm just back from the communities. I had meetings with what we call kingdom coordinators. We've been able to work with those we call kingdom coordinators, one person in each of the kingdoms. We have 7 kingdoms in Ogoni, and we divided Ogoni into 7, and then call it kingdom. They are kingdoms, different kingdoms. Each of those kingdoms, we have one person. So I was meeting with the kingdom coordinators today on how to work out this. In fact, they already have a copy of some of these things to look at. So there is another way of also reaching out to the people. What I got from them today, they are only waiting for us to fix a date for us to present this thing to the people. So I still want to say that the Ogoni people are much ready and are happy that at least this is one way their language will be heard, their language will be respected, where they can clearly and happily speak their language when they travel from the community to another community and to the urban city to do whatever they can do. At least they are sure that their language will be respected.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sunday. And I also see some comments in the chat, just, talking about what you had mentioned earlier, just echoing some of the challenges that they're facing in their community. Sylvia from Uganda says, for Bato indigenous peoples, our language is completely lost because the young generation face a lot of stigma when they speak it at school and in the communities where they live. Since we were evicted and displaced in different directions, and now tried to adopt the language, that they settled in. So it becomes an abuse when you speak and people start making fun of their language. So you can see that, this is a common trend. I think Namnyak from Pastoral Women Council in Tanzania says, we manage a small community school in a small Maasai village called Ololosokwan, close to the Serengeti. The national secondary school curriculum is in English, and we often have to push the students to speak English to improve their understanding of the language and therefore their performance and chance to prosper as global citizens. So I think, this is a question from Namyak. She asks, how do we balance this with ensuring that the children retain, respect, upload their indigenous Ma language? How do we make sure that wherever they go, they remain proud of their heritage despite the negative connotations around the Maasai and other indigenous cultures in our landscape? Very briefly, Sunday, you can speak into that, and then we'll move on.
There's something that we've started, and I also maybe let me mention it again. Like I said, it's not enough to just have a document containing this language or to say you want this language to be revived. What we have done is that we are engaging with the government authorities, those in charge of education, to say, look, we have this book, we have this that is ready. How do we make this our children be able to speak, to learn? So we are making them, it's an advocacy thing we are doing, so that this will be part of the curriculum, the school curriculum, so that even though it will not be taught in the higher school, at least the primary school where the children grew, it will be there. If the children are taught this in their school, I'm sure that that alone give them confidence that because government recognizes it, they can speak it anywhere. So that is one way that we have done. And I think if it is done any other place, it will also be something that we'll be proud of.
I think, Sunday, maybe we will find another session where you can come and teach a bit of those advocacy skills for some of our partners. I think this would be a very good peer learning, cross-sharing skills in terms of, how others can be able to implement the strategies that you've implemented to be able to advance, to get the Ogoni language to the level where it is at now. So thank you very, very much for your presentation.
Sorry, let me add something. Yes, let me ask something. I also talk about the paucity of teachers. The few teachers that were. So what we have done, these language translators, the 4 language translators, we have arranged it such that they are also training some of our people, our young people. They are also teaching them this language so that they will go to the communities and then teach the children. If government says they cannot fund, they cannot pay the teachers, this is our own community help way the community will help to make sure this is done. So we all have even young people volunteering, or even say even if the stipend is not much, they are ready to do it. So it's one way that we have done so that we don't say we don't have teachers.